A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajeem. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Book name: The Socio-Political Measures of Imam Al Jawad to Guide the Shia. This book offers a brief biography of the young and brilliant Imam Al Jawad and addresses his role in guiding the Shia community. It also touches upon the Imam's God given knowledge, extraordinary acts, wise political measures taken against opposition, and educational training of scholars. Abstract: Although the Shia Imams attained the rank of Imamate at different ages, they guided the Shia as best as their time requirement was necessary because their knowledge was God given and they were infallibles. This article offers a brief biography of the young and brilliant Imam Al Jawad and addresses his role in guiding the Shia community. Introduction: Every religion needs a guide for its continuity and progress of its adherence towards the truth. Islam considers such guides after the Prophet to be necessary and introduced them to the Islamic community to guide the people to their right path. The ninth guide introduced by the Prophet was Imam Muhammad al-Taqi, Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad, who assumed the guidance of and policy making for the Islamic community after his fathers despite his young age. In spite of the doubts and criticism from his enemies due to his age, by his God-given knowledge he overcame the despotic Abbasid rulers, Ma'mun and Mu'tasim, and could guide his followers and save them from being trapped by the false claimants of the Caliphate. In this book, the character of Imam Muhammad Taqi and his socio-political measures will be addressed. The ninth Shia Imam, Imam Al Jawad, was born on the 9th of Rajab in 195 after Hijrah in Medina. His birth delighted his father, Imam Al Rida, and his followers, while disappointing the enemies of Imamat, particularly the Waqifa. Regarding Imam Al Jawad's birth, Imam Riza said, "This is the baby more blessed than whom there is no newborn for the Shias." His title was Abu Ja'far, and his most famous titles were Al Jawad and Al Taqi. The Shia, who were concerned about the enemies, found fault with the eighth Imam not having any children. However, giving the glad tidings of Imam Al Jawad's birth, who would assume the imamate after Imam Al Rida, eased their worries. Before that, a Waqifi, Ibn Qiyama Wasiti, had written a letter to Imam Riza and asked, "How is it that you are an Imam and you do not have any children?" In response, Imam Riza wrote, "How do you know I will not have any child? By God, very soon he will grant me a son, by whom he will distinguish between truth and falsehood." Elsewhere, Imam Al Rida told Ibn Qiyama, "By God, he will grant me a child, by whom he will prove the right and support its followers and eradicate the falsehood and its followers." 1 year later, Imam Al Jawad was born. The Waqifis plotted, raised doubts, and spoke out against the imamat of Imam Al Riza and Imam Al Jawad. To consider that imamat stopped at Imam Al Qasim undermined Shia beliefs. Imam Rida referred to Imam Jawad as the blessed newborn for the Shia because all enemies' plots would be foiled by his birth and his being a Shia leader after the eighth Imam. Yahya San'ani said, "In Mecca, I went to Imam Al Rida and saw him peeling a banana and giving it to his son. I asked him, 'Is this the very blessed newborn?' He said, 'In Islam, there is no more blessed baby for the Shias than him.'" Imam Al Jawad's late birth rendered the enemies happy as some had doubted his birth, although it eventually disappointed the enemies and eased the worries of the Shias. Thus, he was a blessed Imam for the Shias because he would assume the Imamat of the Ummah after Imam Al Rida. It is narrated that some people went to Imam Rida in Medina. Upon leaving, Imam Rida told them, "Go to Abu Ja'far, send your greetings to him." And they gave their greetings to Imam Al Jawad, who was a child then. As the Prophet and other Imams emphasized the Imamat of Imam Al Jawad, the eighth Imam also affirmed it on many occasions to introduce him to the Shia so that there would be no doubt about it. Safwan ibn Yahya said, I told Imam Rida, if something happens to you, who will assume Imamat? The Imam pointed to Imam Al Jawad beside him. I asked him, this 3-year-old son? He said, why not? Jesus Christ was also 3 years old when he became God's Hujjat. Imam Muhammad Al Jawad's measures to guide the Shia. As it was the first time a child became an Imam, naturally this unprecedented event was disputed. Along with the doctrine of Imamat and the tyrannical caliphate taking opposing views. Hence, while profoundly comprehending the political cultural conditions of the society and plots of Ma'mun and other enemies of Imamat, Imam Al Jawad took the following political cultural measures in guiding the Shia and foiling the enemy's plots. A. Emphasizing his Imamat. The question of the possibility of the Imam's Imamat before adolescence was one of the theological issues on Imamat in that era. This theological issue worried, distressed, and disunited the followers of the Ahlul Bayt. To resolve their doubts, some approached Imam al-Rida's brother Abdullah ibn Musa. Although he was unable to answer their questions, others joined the Waqifis, and still some others considered Imam al-Rida's brother Ahmad ibn Musa as the Imam. Their reason being that Imam al-Jawad was too young. To them, maturity was a prerequisite for Imamat. Some truth-seeking Shias went to Medina to find out for themselves. Upon meeting the Imam, their worries were relieved. Posing numerous questions to the Imam, they received correct answers from him, thus becoming certain about his Imamat. Imam al-Jawad introduced himself to the people as well as to the opposition as the leader of the Ummah and God's Hujjat on the earth. In the Prophet's shrine, Yahya ibn Akhtam came across the Imam and asked him some questions. At the end he said, I want to ask you something, but I feel ashamed to do so. The Imam said, before you ask your question, I inform you of it. You are going to ask me about the present Imam. He said, yes, by God. The Imam replied, I am that Imam. Yahya said, show me a sign. Then the cane in the Imam's hand started to speak and said, he is my master and the people's leader and the God's Hujjat right now. B. Revealing his God-given knowledge. One feature of Imamat is the Imam's knowledge. Considering Imam al-Jawad's young age, it was necessary that the Imam revealed a drop of vast sea of his divine knowledge for the people to determine his Imamat. After his father's martyrdom, he went up to the pulpit in Masjid Nabawi and said, I am Muhammad ibn Ali al-Rida al-Jawad. I am fully aware of every person's lineage. I know your overt and covert situations and your future. This is the knowledge God gave us before creation, and we will enjoy it even after the destructions of heaven and the earth. If it were not for the followers of falsehood, the government of the misguided, and the sedition of the doubtful against us, I would mention things that would surprise both the people of the past and the future. Then he put his hand on his mouth and said, O Muhammad, keep quiet like your forefathers. The Imam was asked numerous questions, either because he was being tested or he was simply teaching. And his answers in one session at the age of 9 indicated his mastery of different sciences. C. Performing extraordinary acts. One way the Imam guided the society and removed any doubts was through extraordinary acts. There are many acts reported from Imam Al Jawad. Most of them were to strengthen people's belief, as doing so was a sign of his Imamat and successorship to the Prophet. Ammar ibn Zayd reported, I asked Imam Al Jawad, what's the sign of the Imam? He said, he should be able to do this. He put his hand on the iron stone in such a way that there were his fingerprints on it. I saw him imprint his ring on the iron stone without melting it. His extraordinary acts were mostly done to save his companions and followers from oppressors and setting them free from prison. D. Adopting a negative stance against the Khalifa. Although Imam Al Jawad was exiled to Baghdad, the capital of the Khalifa, by Ma'mun after the martyrdom of Imam Al Raza, he always stated the truth, defined his imamat, revealed his God-given knowledge specific to the divine leaders, took negative stance against the Khalifa and expressed dissatisfaction with his presence in the Khalifa's court to reveal his political views to his followers. The Imam's opposition to the tyrannical rule was revealed in his wise sayings and actions. Sometimes these stances were manifested in his true Islamic jurisprudence and his falsifying the money-making jurist ideas. This was especially seen in the debates between the Imam and Yahya ibn Akhtam, a renowned scholar during that time. A companion of the Imam, Hussain Makari, said, while Imam Al Jawad was living in Baghdad, wealthily, I went there, thinking now that he lived prosperously, he would not return to Medina. The Imam raised his head while he turned yellow with sorrow and said, O Hussein, I prefer barley bread with half ground salt in the city of Prophet Muhammad to this situation. The Imam was greatly upset with his exile to Ma'mun's court and disregarded the luxury life. E. Policy making and guiding the Shias. Imam Al Jawad endeavored to preserve the Shias in various cities in the Islamic land during his forceful stay in Baghdad and then in Medina. He answered religious and legal questions of the Shias through his agents. In his letter to Ibrahim ibn Muhammad Hamdani, he said, I have no agent there except you. I wrote to my friends in Hamdan to obey you. F. Struggle against deviated ideologies. Throughout Shia history, the enemies plotted to disunite the Shias through forming religious sects. In this time, Imam Al Jawad fought the sects, deviated from Imamat, and guided the Shias to take an appropriate stance against them. There were many prominent deviated groups. To oppose them, the Imam prohibited paying zakat to them and having them as public prayer leaders. He wanted his followers to disassociate themselves from them because God disassociates himself from them. G. Training religious scholars. The Imam trained a group of students to become religious scholars to benefit the society, as sometimes it was difficult to benefit from Imam Al Jawad's knowledge directly, and the people needed answers to their legal questions from reliable sources. Sheikh Tusi referred to 113 people who were the Imam's companions and the reporters of his hadith, including prominent ones. Ahmad ibn Muhammad ibn Abi Nasir. He was considered as one of the people of the consensus, and a jurist, Ahmad ibn Ishaq Ash'ari, who was the Sheikh of Qum, the Qummi people's representative who received the Imam's legal rulings and orders, and then gave them to the people. Zakaria ibn Adam, who Imam Al Jawad prayed for and considered a grateful, loyal companion. Ali ibn Mazyar, an elite agent of the Imam who prayed for him and talked of him as a matchless figure. Muhammad ibn Ismail ibn Bazi, who, like Ali ibn Yaqtin, was a reliable supporter and a refuge for the Shias, and was at the service of Imam al-Kazim, Imam Rida, and Imam Al Jawad. Like his forefather, Imam al-Sadiq, Imam Al Jawad helped his companions and students infiltrate into every circle. They even attained high positions in the court. Nuh ibn Durraj was at the first judge of Baghdad and then Kufa. Muhammad ibn Ismail ibn Ba'zi and Ahmad ibn Hamza Qummi reached a high position in the government. Muhammad ibn Ash'ad, Ahmad ibn Bahil, Hussein ibn Ali al-Misri, and Ismail ibn Musa ibn Ja'far paved the way for the spread of Shiaism in Egypt by migrating there. Through his agents, the Imam led and guided a vast network in faraway lands. This network of agents, which also prepared the ground for political and cultural guidance of the Shias and prepared them for the age of occultation, was expanded by the next Imams and later took a particular form by the four special deputies of Imam al-Mahdi. H. Imam Al Jawad's political marriage and his martyrdom. Adopting a special policy, Ma'mun pretended to love the Ahlul Bayt with the intention of drawing support of their followers and building friendship with them. This was clear in measure to invite Imam al-Rida to Khurasan. After Imam al-Rida was martyred by Ma'mun, he acted deceitfully again by having Imam Al Jawad marry his daughter, al-Fadl. Ma'mun pursued the following goals through his political marriage: to express love for Imam Al Jawad, to deny the blame of killing Imam Rida, to pacify the Shias and receive their support after the martyrdom of Imam Rida, to control the supporters of Imamat through watching their coming to Imam Jawad and to be immune from the Alawids uprising, to make Imam Al Jawad succeed Imam Rida as the religious and scientific authority for him to answer the people's religious questions, to secure his own political position, particularly after killing his brother Amin and his removing Qasim from power, to exonerate himself from any role in the martyrdom of Imam Rida, to claim to have an intimate relation with the Prophet's household through this marriage. This eventually did not pay off. Finally, Muta'assim al-Abbasi called the Imam to Baghdad, and following in his corrupt forefathers' footsteps, he poisoned Imam Al Jawad through his niece al-Fadl. Imam Al Jawad was martyred in Dhul Qa'dah 220 after Hijrah at the age of 25 and was buried beside his grandfather Imam Musa al-Kadhim. His imamat lasted for 17 years. Every Shia Imam acted on the basis of the requirements of that time and guided his followers in with wisdom. The important role of Imam Al Jawad in that critical era, facing such deceitful rulers as Ma'mun and Muta'assim, can be referred to as an example. Although he was very young, he guided the Shias well and foiled the enemy's plots. Book name: The Socio-Political Measures of Imam Al Jawad to Guide the Shia. Author: Abul Qasim Shakir. Translated by Mahbube Murshidian. Uploaded by alislam.org.